Good morning. The time is 10 o'clock. It's a wonderful day right here in the studio. Thanks for joining us on the program today, Disability Inclusion, on the network service of Radio Nigeria. My name is Jennifer Ogo, your host. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday. Well, on today's edition of Disability Inclusion, the topic is deeper, than all of our previous editions. So this is Inside the House, Disability Inclusion through Legislative Internship. Yes, that is what we'll be talking about today. For our first-time listeners, Disability Inclusion is a radio program that talks about everything that has to do with persons with disabilities. So we'd like to talk about the challenges persons with disabilities face, the opportunity that ought to be provided for them, by the society, especially for public awareness and enlightenment. So we'd like to, share eye-opening journeys so far, the lessons, the learning curves, and how proximity to power is shaping their dreams for inclusive governance. Well, before we delve deep into the program, let's find out what's going on in the disability community. To stay with us. New. Hey.
No, this one's already.
This one is
Already 3 years.
No, this one also. This is the same thing with this.
Yes, this one is correct. That's what I'm saying. 8 weeks out. It's 2 weeks.
2, 8,
3 years. Yes, right. Student manager. That's it. This is the last paper. Paper 4. Picture. And I believe. Yeah, picture 1, I believe.
Thank you.
We're good.
Still in the studios of Radio Nigeria, the program is still Disability Inclusion on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Thanks for staying tuned. Like earlier mentioned, we will be doing our searchlights inside the house. We like to beam our searchlights inside the house, which is the disability inclusion through legislative internship. That's what we'll be looking at today. We'll be examining the experiences of 3 interns with disabilities in the House. They are currently serving at the National Assembly through the TAF Africa led initiative supported by the European Union under the EU SDGN program. Now, 6 weeks into their 3 months internship, these guests will reflect on their journey so far, sharing insights into their daily, roles within the House of Representatives committees. Now, these skills they've gained over time, and how their lived experiences are contributing to shaping more inclusive legislative discussion. Yes, so introducing them, first of all, I have Shamsiyyah Umar, a PWD legislative intern. Also, I have Ogundare B, Omowunmi, a PWD legislative intern. And also a PWD legislative intern, we have Festus Okpeh. Thanks for joining us on the program, and it's good to have you on the discussion today. All right. I would like you to introduce yourself. Briefly tell us about yourself, your background, and the committee you've been assigned to in the National Assembly. I'd like to start with Shamsiyyah Umar.
My name is Shamsiyyah Umar, as you rightly said. I am a person with disability. I proudly say that. I run a non-profit called We Are Special Foundation, where we advocate for the rights and inclusion of persons with disabilities. And as a legislative intern, I was assigned to the Poverty Alleviation Committee. And so far, it has been a learning experience for me. Thank you.
All right. Next, Festus Okpeh.
Thank you. My name is Festus Okpeh. I'm a lawyer and a minority rights researcher. I'm interested in disability rights, refugee rights, intersectional identities, and inclusive development. Currently, I work with the Inclusive Friends Association, IFA, as a research and legal officer. As a PWD intern under the TAF Africa's legislative program, I have been posted to the Committee on Land Transport, and so far it's been
Committee on Land
Transport.
Okay.
Yeah. So far it's been quite an experience. Thank you.
All right.
Good morning. My name is Omowunmi Ogundare. I'm a person living with disabilities. I'm a computer scientist and have opportunity to be posted under the TAF Africa to National Assembly under the Committee of Basic Education.
Okay.
Yes, and it has been a wonderful experience meeting with new people in the National Assembly under Mrs. the clerk, the office of the clerk, Mrs. Glory. She has been a wonderful person to work with. That's little experience I've had so far.
Okay. So what motivated you, that's Shamsiyyah, what motivated you to apply for the TAF Africa Legislative Internship Program?
For one, myself, prior before now, for a very long time, I haven't had access to be in the National Assembly, not until 2023 towards the end. And imagine spending all these years and I do not have access to this house. I just admire it on televisions, on pictures. And going there for the first time, it was really hard for me in terms of accessibility. Getting inside was a lot because of the security processes and also the perception I had going there for the first time. Okay, are they guiding gold here that I can't be inside here? So when I saw the call for TAF Africa legislative intent, I want to be here because most times we see policies just out there for us. We do not have first-hand experience how it has been implemented, and because over time, persons with disabilities have been left behind in terms of policy making. They are not included. We don't have spaces in political positions, right? So I just wanted to be there to understand how this legislative processes work.
Okay, Mr. Festus, as a person with disability, what motivated you?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. I think for me personally, lived experiences have been one of the driving forces in terms of what I should do within the disability community. First, as a person with a disability, I've always thought that maybe when I was studying law, I've always thought that maybe becoming a lawyer will shed you from certain discriminatory practices, so to speak. But to my greatest surprise, I found out that it never made any difference whether you were a lawyer or not. But once you have this disability or people perceive that you are a little bit different from the others, you tend to suffer the same kind of discriminatory practices or these egregious reactions and certain things. I'll give you a practical example. When I was posted during my LYSC youth service, I was supposed to do my house primary assignments I wanted to be in a particular law firm, but I didn't get that opportunity just to even serve as a pupil in a law firm. So you can see even within the legal profession. So
this was in what year?
This was in 2018.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay, I think that was when the disability.
Yeah, so we
Act,
already have the
It's
movement
come
to pass the Disability Act, but I'm just giving this insight so we can understand how entrenched disability discrimination has been over the years. And from that experience from 2019, 2020, and then you discover that you just have to speak up, you just have to do something. Before then, I've always been this kind of isolated person. I still am. I'm still struggling to actually be out there. But I think that moment actually sparked something, and I had to say something. I think that was when I started doing more research about disability issues in Nigeria. I tried to put up articles on inclusive legal practice in Nigeria, which I believe also helped at the time to even establish the Lawyers with Disabilities Forum, the NBA Lawyers with Disabilities Forum. Okay. I think I was doing articles trying to see that something like that was actually in place, because you don't have anything like that within an NBA structure at the time. And then fast forward after the passage of the Disability Act, and then what we now have, you see that looking around, there are quite a lot that we can talk about. I will give you a practical example. The issues of persons with disabilities are cross-cutting, but factors that actually entrench disability discrimination and exclusion can be summarized with accessibility, basically, because accessibility cuts across everything. My colleague here has been posted to the House Committee on Education. We only have 2% of persons with disabilities have access to education in Nigeria. Research has shown that, and we have over 35 million persons with disabilities. And then you're talking about children. And in terms of moving around, we talk about inclusive transportation, affordable transportation. All these things are literally not there. Of course, we have the policies, but implementation is a very big problem. And even understanding the peculiar needs and the actual needs of persons with disabilities is quite problematic. We have about 96% of persons with disabilities who are in need of assistive devices. And you don't find this anywhere. And it's quite a struggle. How about the buildings themselves? 98.5% of building infrastructures in Nigeria are practically inaccessible. This includes transportation facilities and all that. So I think it helps to not only be close to where the laws are made, but also for people who have the function to carry out oversight activities, the responsibility to carry out oversight activities, to see how we can contribute and also spotlight some of these issues for them, to beam their searchlight as they carry out these legislative responsibilities.
Very right. All right, it's still Disability Inclusion on the Network Service of Radio Nigeria. I would like to inform you, if you're just joining us, that we have 3 persons with disabilities sitting with us right here in the studio live, and they are interns, in the National Assembly. And then when we are talking about inclusive governance, inclusive electoral participation in all spheres of the society, we are talking about persons with disabilities, not just participating, but also being involved in governance. And we've been doing a lot of talking. Remember when this program started? Now the implementation process is here, and we can't do this alone. So if you have any questions, if you want to throw more light on the topic or shed more light on the topic, kindly call any of these numbers: 0915 0910482. 0483, I beg your pardon. So we have 0915 091 0483 or 0808 281 4453. 0808 281 4453. You can also join us live on our Facebook page at TAF Africa. We are beaming our searchlights inside the house. Now, when we're talking about the house, we're talking about the seat of governance, disability inclusion through legislative internship. So I think we have Mrs. Ogundare B Omowunmi, who is also a person with disability and a legislative intern. What spurred your interest into applying for TAF Africa's legislative internship program?
Thank you. First and foremost, when I heard about TAF Africa and intern, I was like, what is it all about? But I have opportunity to be posted to National Assembly under House of Rep. But when I got there, I noticed that there's a lot of things that we see outside, and inside is not real.
Okay.
Yes, it's not real. For instance, like I said, I was posted to basic education. My whole perception before I assumed office was, everything about education, everything will be accessible as an education committee, but it's not so.
Okay.
Imagine a candidate, a disability person, graduates as a lawyer, still looking for a job. I don't think it should be like that.
Okay.
Because if you let's look at PSR, Public Service Rule, it stated that people with disabilities should be given 5% job. And we have more than how many people with disability? How many people with disability in this country that could access that job? 5%. So my home.
Yeah, what you think? You can't wait to do a lot. So far, what has been your experience?
My experience.
How long have you actually been? On the study?
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Okay.
Yes.
What have you observed so far?
I've observed that they are doing a lot of things in my committee.
Okay.
Yes, like this introduction of technical schools.
Okay.
Yes, for free education.
For persons with disabilities.
Yes.
Okay.
Persons with disability, free education, free accommodation, free feeding, and after you finish your school, you're entitled to be given a job.
Okay.
Yes. Then I also learned about
Okay. I think we're going to allow Shamsiyyah, comment on, this particular issue. I want you to give us a broad understanding. I mean, you're there, you're the intern, and we want to know how far your journey has been, in terms of observing, what's your role like, what do you hope to, achieve at the end of the day, what will you really contribute, in the program. Just basically describe a typical day in your internship, like what does your role or daily tasks look like, and what has been the most exciting and fulfilling aspect of your internship so far?
Okay. As someone who is very enthusiastic about learning, I have learned quite a few things in 6 weeks, and I hope to learn more as the day goes by. As an intern, typical day, I'll start with what I want to achieve at the end of this internship, because for one, that's what we are there for as legislative interns on the TAF Africa. And our responsibility is to propose a bill. And trust me, being there, I have seen so many things that I really want to write about, and hopefully I get it passed out there to represent my community of persons with disabilities. For one, it has been exciting, like I mentioned, in terms of being able to see how these proceedings in the communities are. I was fortunate to be part of one of the proceedings, and trust me, what we have out there is different from what we see in here.
What's the gap? What's the difference?
And trust me, that's why they said it's good for you to have a lived experience of it. So outside, you just feel, okay, these things are just passed by the people without considering people like other citizens. But I saw firsthand how a committee chairman was struggling and saying, this is not right, this is what we are supposed to do. People are not abiding by certain rules and regulations of what needs to be done as a Nigerian. So this is a different perception I have had being there, that laws are not just passed.
Yes.
Yes, laws are not just passed, because that's what an average Nigerian thinks, that the laws are just passed without considerations. But one is consideration, and the second thing is the reason why we are there, right? We are there to represent persons with disabilities because the average number, the percentage is very low. And the bill I am thinking of proposing, really, it's on how persons with disabilities can be really included. Why we are talking about poverty alleviations, because disability is really expensive. We know that. And it deepens people into poverty because they do not have easy access to certain things. I was somewhere and I saw a framework, a model of a country that really works well. And I think when we abide or invite that model, we'll go far in the country, right? A process whereby a person with disability will have access to this green card. So what the green card does is give you access to free transportation, free access to education, public spaces, and a lot
As
of
a person with
As a
disability.
person
In what
with
country?
disability.
In what country precisely?
That's Egypt.
Okay, Egypt. Just Egypt.
Yes, just
Wow.
Egypt, and it's in
Oh,
Africa,
yeah.
trust me. And how they get money from that card is savings from a caregiver. So once your parent now is working as a caregiver or a parent of a person with disability, they get paid more than a parent who do not have any child with disability. So what they now do is that high payment of percentage, like the pension, they save for the person with disability.
Yes.
So the person now gets credited on that green card. So when you have that green card, it's saving for your future, because there are certain things you do not have access to. For example, as a person with special needs, like cerebral palsy, autism, there are limited things they could do. So that green card is helping them save for the future. And then when they now present that green card in public spaces or anywhere, they get free access. And this is something I really want to explore as an intern and see how best it will work in Nigeria.
Okay, countries where they have, special social protection program
Yes,
now for
definitely.
persons with disabilities. I hope we can get there sometime soon.
We will trust me.
All right, the phone lines are still open to make your contributions. 0915 091 0483 or 0808 281 4453. Now let's move over to Mr. Festus Okpeh, who is also a legislative intern now, a lawyer, a researcher, and he has said a lot about what should be done to implement the Disability Act. Also, he narrated his experience as a lawyer with disability during his NYC. But I asked Shamsiyyah, can you just narrate a typical day during your internship program, what your role look like, what your daily tasks look like, and what has been the most exciting and fulfilling aspect of your internship so far?
Yes, I think I've been, before this internship, I've been to the National Assembly, I think once or twice.
Right.
Because I've been to the office of the House Committee Chairman on Disability, from my office, and then, but being able to interact with the staff of the committees, and I think it's something I'm quite grateful for. I had wished that we were posted within the period when they were doing budget defense, but we missed that opportunity, and then we have come in, and I notice it seems like there is not so much that is happening, like in my own committee. So you could ask what's
committee
the
on
transport, on land transport. Yes.
Transport,
So what's the schedule like? Because most of the things they have done for the year so far were done within the budget defense period and all that. And so a typical day for me at work, it's more like trying to understand the workings of the committee, so to speak. And I'm grateful I've been able to learn quite a lot about the jurisdiction of the oversight function of the House of Representatives Committee on Land Transport. So for me, that is key because it gives me a better perspective on where I can inform or channel my interventions as to the things I would like to see. But beyond that, I am somebody who is interested in ensuring that the policies we already have are actually implemented. I know we have a lot of policies already, especially the Disability Act. So I am looking at what is the budget performance like, especially when it comes to disability policy budget lines, disability budget lines that touches on transport facilities in Nigeria. So over the years, we have seen that we talked about the provision of CNG buses and things like that. So I'm trying to probe to really understand what the workings of the Ministry of Transportation and other parastatals that are actually answerable to the Committee on Land Transport. Because my interest is, and this is quite fundamental, given from the 2024 appropriation bill, what you will find is that the few disability projects you find in the budget are quite scattered all around various ministries. So
how do you propose it should be?
Yes. Probably what it should be is that, for instance, we have a National Commission for Persons with Disabilities who we are supposed to also have a budget, right?
Yeah.
But they don't really have so much budget, so to speak, because what constitutes disability budgeting for a year, so to speak, you find them scattered everywhere, right? So what I am trying to do as part of my function within this legislative period is I want to find out where these disability project items are, especially as it relates to the Committee on Transport or parastatals and ministries or agencies over whom the Committee on Land Transportation have jurisdictional oversight. So once we're able to do that, then you can then inform how they can ensure that in carrying out this oversight, they beam their touchlight on the budget performance in respect of disability projects. So I think for me, that is very, very fundamental, and that is something I am trying to ensure that before the end of this internship, I am able to at least bring that out and then lay it at the table of the committee to assist in their work.
Yeah, quite impressive. All right, it's 10:30, and of course, you're still tuned to the program Disability Inclusion on the network service of Radio Nigeria. So far, we've been beaming our searchlights inside the house in terms of disability inclusion through legislative internships, and we are joined by three great guests. They are persons with disabilities and, of course, legislative interns, Shamsiyyah Umar, Ogundare B, Omowunmi, and Festus Okpeh. My name is still Jennifer up on the program. To stay with us. So I'll immediately come back from Yeah, I know. Maybe we'll come back from the break. I'm going to ask you a question about your community, which is basic education.
Yes,
And particularly for women with disabilities who, parents feel like get back out through that question.
Please, can I mention JOEG?
Sorry?
JOEG. Like what JOEG is doing, Joint Equal Opportunity, what they are doing for students, yes.
Okay, is it an NGO? Is it an NGO?
Yes.
This program is by TAF Africa, and what we promote is what the activities that they do. Yes,
that's why
in collaboration.
To.
Yeah,
yes.
So I don't think it's necessary to. Yes,
thank you.
It's not necessary to mention the name. Okay. Just broadly speaking.
Okay.
Basic education for women or girls with disabilities.
Just want more advocacy.
So do we have comments? Wonderful hits there by Simi Sola. Kosoko, titled Woman, and it's still disability inclusion on network service of Radio Nigeria. Inside the house, disability inclusion through legislative internship. That is our topic for today. And the numbers to call are 0915 091 0482 83, or 0808 281 4453. 0808-281-4453. We have 3 guests in the studio. They are persons with disabilities and legislative interns now in the National Assembly, and they've been sharing their experiences so far during their 6 weeks, am I right, 6 weeks internship program, and what they hope to achieve, what they're observing, how they're understudying, what's going on in the National Assembly, basically, because remember the mantra is nothing about us without us. So if we are trying to tackle societal barriers, discrimination, stigmatization, and all of those challenges that pose a threat to equal participation for persons with disabilities in the society, then we have to get involved. We have to get involved to ensure that policies are duly implemented, to make them achieve their goals, to make them successful in society, to make them feel inclusive in the society. So I'm going to be throwing my next question now to Ogundare Omowunmi, a legislative intern. Can you tell us about, you are in the community of basic education. Can you tell us about the role of basic education in terms of fostering basic education now for girls with disabilities? Because we are in Nigeria, and of course we know that cultural stereotype, gender discrimination is still in one corner or the other in society, especially in the area of education. And educating a girl child is like educating a nation. So what has been your role so far? What do you think basic education can do in making sure that girls with disabilities are empowered?
Thank you. When I first resumed work, I noticed that there's no much work, and no much schedule, no much work in the office. And I was curious to ask that what are they doing? And they told me that there's a law that they are working on establishing, opening more school on people gifted schools. And I asked the clerk, what about people with disability? How are they going to be inclusive? I asked. She now told me that it's a law, and a law must be scrutinized before the bill will before it will be carried out. Yes. Then I noticed that people with disability have this kind of fear to come out, even though they want to learn. But the stigma of disability, it happens to me. I'm a victim. It happens to me that if I show interest that I want to learn, people will be mocking me. But as a person living with disability, you have to come out first to show that you're ready to learn. Like what I discussed with the clerk, she said the lawmaker, Honorable House on Basic Education, they are working on it to include people living with disability. And I told her that I want us to do more awareness so that we'll go to every corner to create awareness that people with disability, you can learn, you can do anything within your capability, within your strength. You can be useful to yourself, even to your community. Then I noticed that people with disability always have this kind of fear. Fear of unknown. I think you're getting it.
Yes.
Fear of unknown.
Definitely we are.
Yes.
And of course, these fears now, based on my experience in this
Yes.
program, they arise from security
Thank
issues, they
God
arise from
to have
stigmatization.
Africa that brought somebody like us,
Mm.
that posted somebody like us to National Assembly for intern, that be able to learn one thing or the other in the National Assembly, that gave us the courage to come out and create awareness for people with disability that you can go extra mile. You can do everything in your community and for yourself. And Committee on Basic Education and Services, they are working on it. Very soon they will carry people, more people with disability. I think they are going to carry them along.
Okay, Mr. Festus, you're the mirror image now of the disability community. That is why you're here. In what ways do you feel, this internship program is preparing you for the future in terms of leadership and civic engagement?
Yeah, thank you for the question. But just before I answer that, I just want to make one or two comments with respect to education for women in Nigeria in particular. And we see that, I'll just give you a very simple example, and it is as a result of the foundational problem we already have with the policy itself, the law. Although we have the Disability Act, which is already in force, but as a researcher, if you look through the Disability Act, you will see that it is a struggle of segregated education and inclusive education.
Okay, how do you mean?
Of course, the Disability Act is supposed to be a 21st century law that would promote inclusive education.
Is it not a 21st century law? You are the lawyer though.
Yeah.
So let me just hear from
be,
you.
right?
Yeah.
That's why I said it has a lot of struggles. It still maintains our special schools.
So do you think there should be a redress or a review of the
Of course, the disability community have been calling for a review of the act, so to speak, because in fact, if you look at the long title of the Disability Act, it says it is an act to ensure the integration of persons with disabilities. It didn't say inclusion. It says integration. Integration is yes, I will explain to you.
Integration, inclusion.
I will explain to you. Now,
okay?
within the United Nations space, and I'm referring to the Convention on the Right of Persons with Disabilities, there are, I think, 3 to 4 words that are interplaying within the disability community. You have segregation, you have integration, you have inclusion, right? So in integration, what happens in integration is you want to bring the person with disability inside what is already existing, right? That is it. In segregation, what you are doing is you are providing for them, but you are providing for them separately. Okay. So let's assume you have a special school, you keep people with special needs, in quotes there, and you are making those provisions for them, but they are not interacting with their peers.
Okay, so that is where the segregation is.
Yeah, that is segregation. And then in integration, you are trying to bring. What then happens after the segregation is that you will then do integration, because after the person has learned separately, you then try to bring him to interact with the other person, right? It creates more challenges. But inclusion is you are making those provisions within the same space that allows the children not only to learn but also to interact while they are learning. So it solves a whole lot of problems. That is more progressive, and that is the advocacy we are making. So we still have, and it stems from our previous programs. We already have special schools scattered everywhere.
Should there even be special schools? Because I had a guest, I think sometime last year, and he actually kicked against special schools.
Exactly.
Special schools. Instead, the schools should be mainstreamed
inclusive,
for learners. Yes,
inclusive schools. Exactly. That is what I'm pointing out. So the fact that that gap still exists, even with the enactment of the Disability Act, and the Disability Act doesn't really address it, still entrenches and consolidates the gap in literacy we find with education, especially child education for women and girls with disabilities. And beyond that, we are already in a digital world, right? We are living a digital life. So beyond speaking English and learning all those subjects, digital literacy is quite the bedrock of everything you would want to do now to be successful. So, and then if you look at the digital literacy gap, so I'm trying to say that there is a need to begin to mainstream digital literacy for persons with disabilities.
These devices now, is it?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's providing these tools to work with.
Exactly.
If they are not there, I mean,
Exactly.
what do you want the teachers to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is why we talked about there must be a need for increased capacity training, even for teachers, because we don't even have probably enough inclusive teachers who actually understands these things. Because I think a study was carried out, and you discovered that over 61% of women with disabilities, probably in northern part of Nigeria, cannot even power a computer. Yeah. So if in this modern age we have this large expanse of people who can hardly understand the workings of the simple or basic computer tools, then you discover that any education you are providing would more or less not serve the needs of the 21st century educated person. And then, of course, we had that played over the 95% literacy agenda for Nigeria. You have this vast majority number of people, then neither is not going to achieve that. So the National Information Technology Development Agency must then take that seriously to ensure that inclusive education is not only mainstreamed in our schools, but that digital literacy itself is part and parcel of the curricula of education in Nigeria. Then, having said that, in terms of how this internship would shape my future plans moving forward, I think this is quite an immense experience, because I actually wanted to understand the workings of course, I've learned a lot as a lawyer of how laws are made and things like that, but I actually wanted to understand how does it really work out for these people, especially when they are seated in the chambers, and what are the politics of lawmaking, understanding how do you actually get things done, right? Because governance is different from politics, right? And policy making. And we, from the disability perspective, we are very much concerned with governance. Because, they will tell you that, of course, we have a lot of issues, even in terms of voting. And then beyond voting, the governance is our problem. And in understanding how do you then actually get the legislator to be part of the governance structure. Sometimes we know that their primary function is lawmaking. But the oversight function they provide is a very key fundamental in terms of governance, right? Yeah. And once that is lacking, or you have a slapdash attitude towards legislative oversight, then governance will really suffer. And for persons with disabilities, it will be a very big blow. So I really wanted to know, and the knowledge I would gain from associating.
You've actually taken over. Just wrap it up, because I want to give Shamsiyyah an opportunity.
All right, so I just wanted to conclude by saying that understanding this would help to see how we can drive advocacy to ensure that disability programs, budget performance, and all that are taken into consideration.
Like, it's a lot. You know, you've made a lot, like over 10 points. And if we begin to delve into each thematic areas individually, we will definitely not all live here. So please, while we are still going to come back to you, hopefully, let's just give Shamsiyyah an opportunity to, speak. I've not even asked up to half of the questions I have for you guys. But in what way do you feel, this program is praying for future? Okay, we have a caller. Hello, good morning. Hello. Oh, thanks for joining us today, sir. What part of the country are you calling us from? Yes, sir. Good to have you on the program today, sir.
Thank you.
Advantage.
Thank you. Hello, Honorable Emmanuel. Are you still there with us? I think we lost him. He actually made a very vital point. Nothing about us without us. Taking into cognizance that we're still celebrating the Democracy Day, the governance level in Nigeria should definitely include persons with disabilities in every of their affairs. So back to you, Shamsiyyah. Yeah, I'm like, what has been your experience so far? What should we be expecting? What are you expecting to achieve from this experience in the National Assembly as a legislative intern?
Thank you very much. Like I mentioned earlier, it's a learning experience, and having to finish with a vast knowledge and having to contribute as a person with disabilities will mean a lot to all of us, all the interns, because like Mr. Emmanuel just mentioned, there are lots of things that are happening without us not being involved. So we're grateful for TAF Africa for involving us in this. This is an initiative from a non-profit organization. It wasn't taught by any of the legislatures we are working with. Let's include this person. So moving forward, I would like to tell everyone listening, if you're a lawmaker, you're anyone in a position, great position, call out to every single Nigerian that whatever you do, you should include persons with disabilities, because the mantra still remains nothing without us, for us without us. And if we are not there as the drivers, there's nothing that can be done. And trust me, learning from the legislative process, I think there are a lot of things I can do as a person, not as a non-profit. Probably contest for an election, because we need to be represented. And like Ms. Bashir has mentioned, that a lot of us are shying away, we are caged within us. So why not go out there, be representative of ourselves? Let's not allow other people represent us. So this whole experience is training me towards that. Being representative of not just myself, but representative of people who identify as a person with disability.
Definitely. All right, it's still disability inclusion. Now time to look at the 2018 Disability Act and its right not to be used for soliciting for alms. Now, a novel provision in the Act has prohibited using disabled persons for solicitation of alms. Moreover, the Act has criminalized using them for begging. Now, the Act prohibits any person from employing, using, or involving a person with a disability in begging or soliciting for alms, or using the condition of disability as a guise to beg in public. The Act prescribes the punishment of 100,000 naira as a fine or a term of 6 months imprisonment, or both, if convicted. Next is our star of the week. I wish we have more time.
Yeah.
We have about less than 10 minutes now. After this.
In fact, I really appreciate this program because there's a lot of us that doesn't have courage to come out to interact with. Ma'am, are you listening?
Yes,
to,
yes, yes.
To interact people, to talk to
Yeah.
people like me.
Yeah.
It cost me a lot of time before I could interact with people because I see it as if I come outside, people will be laughing at me, people will be mocking me. For instance, I came back from hospital. I was passing by with his walking stick.
Mm-hmm.
3 people sat down. Somebody tapped the other one. Look at her. How do you want me to feel? Do you want me to be part of that society? Because I thought maybe they are mocking me, it might not be so. But you take courage within yourself to come out of that. Yes, wake up and stand for yourself. That disability is not a disease. My sister, everybody have disabilities.
Okay, we'll soon be
Okay.
back. Thank you.
Thank you.
And of course, we are right here to serve, still live on the program Disability Inclusion on the network service of Radio Nigeria. Our time is quite limited, but I'll allow each of our guests to, give up like a round of statement on the topic of discussion. I know we have a lot to hash out, but unfortunately, time is not our friend at this time. I would like to pose this next question now. Just briefly, sir, Mr. Festus. You're a lawyer with disability, and you're very knowledgeable about the Disability Act. Let us know how the law can eradicate discrimination and enforce accountability, in governance. How can we use the Disability Act to achieve that?
Yes, thank you for that. I think we already have the Disability Act, which is a good start. So using the Disability Act to eradicate discrimination is nothing but ensuring that the consequences of going contrary to the law is actually implemented, right? So this is almost 5 years or so since the passing of the Disability Act, but I can tell you that we have not had any record of any case that has actually sought to probably interpret the provisions of the Act or ensure sanctions as provided under the Act. That tells you something. And without that, you can't give the law a force. The law must have a force. So and until you do that, a lot of people will keep taking it for granted.
Yes.
So there is a need to actually begin to speak to the law.
Yes, use it as a sledgehammer.
Exactly. And the sanctions under it, and begin to speak to those sanctions. And once you do that, all the ministries will sit up. Everybody will sit up.
We hope we hope that will.
So I think that's required.
All right, thank you so much. So Shamsiyyah, give your final word now to persons with disability. What do you have to say to them? How would you encourage them to promote the Disability Act and ensure inclusion in our society? Quickly, in a minute.
Okay, like I always say, it's not easy for any of us because we have to work twice as hard as any other person. But when you're determined, you dare to dream, you envision yourself in a certain position outside, not looking at what you look like or what you have within you, just simply telling yourself that you are human, you can do this, and you'll be there. Trust me, you'll be there.
Okay, finally now, Ms. Ogundare Omowunmi.
Thank
30
you.
seconds. What's your final message or final word?
Yes, my final word is for people with disabilities to just be yourself. Be yourself. That is what I accept. Disability is not a disease. It is not a disease. It's just a phase. It's just a challenge. Just come out of it and be yourself. Thank you.
All right, that's all we have for you on the program today, Disability Inclusion. Now, for more information on the activities of TAF Africa, visit our website at www.tafafrica.co or send a message to 0703 112 4423. And for those of you who were unable to start the program with us, you can go back to our Facebook page and watch the program. All right, many thanks to our guests Shamsiyyah Umar, Ogundare B, Omowunmi, and Festus Okpeh, who are persons with disabilities that are legislative interns in the National Assembly. Not forgetting our caller Honorable Omowunmi, as we contributed to the program. The engineer's duty was led by the and the studio manager has been Chief. This program is brought to you by South Africa and funded by the European Union Trade Support to Democratic Governance in Nigeria program. The producer for today's program has been Lucky Omonua. Until next week, same station, same time. Have a good one. Bye for now.